Colombia's peace process has reached a new breakthrough and tensions are rising between Ecuador's president and the military. Those are the headlines. My name is Reagan and welcome to From the South. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin with a new breakthrough in the Colombian peace process. The FARC guerrillas have announced that they will not continue to recruit child soldiers. Last year, the FARC said it would stop recruiting guerrillas under 17 years of age. Now they have agreed to raise the age limit to 18 in line with international definitions of child soldiers. However, the FARC criticized the government for using children to infiltrate the guerrillas.
En aras de avanzar rápidamente posible, hoy invitamos al presidente Santos.
We invite President Santos to make real his campaign promise to end obligatory military service and the process of recruiting minors for their infiltration in guerrilla armies.
Para su infiltración.
700 representatives from across Colombia are contributing their views on the last day of a citizens' forum on the peace process. Those taking part are drawing up their own proposals to feed into the peace talks in Havana. These deal with the two remaining points under negotiation: how to ratify a peace agreement, a final peace agreement, and the mechanisms to ensure a complete and definitive end to armed conflict.
Al presidente Santos.
We invite President Santos to make real his campaign promise to end obligatory military service and the process of recruiting minors for their infiltration in guerrilla armies.
And hundreds of citizens in Bogota are blocking the public bus stations of the Transmilenio system to protest against a recent price hike. The recently elected right-wing mayor Enrique Peñalosa announced that he would expand the public transportation service, using this argument to justify the increase in prices. Local police used tear gas to disperse the roadblocks and made several arrests. Supporters and opponents of the government are demonstrating in Ecuador. The mobilizations follow President Rafael Correa's decision to remove the military high command after a dispute about overcharging for the sale of military land. Our correspondent Isabel Finbo joins us now on the line from Quito. Hi Isabel, you're outside the presidential palace in Quito, we believe, where government supporters are gathering. What's the scene like there now?
Inside the shop. It's so loud outside. There are bands playing, we've got folk bands. The president literally just came out on the roof of the presidential palace. People were going mad. There are people waving flags, people dancing. It's a really, really party atmosphere there at the moment.
Now we understand the tensions are rising since the military high command was fired last week by the president. Has there been any declarations or actions from the armed forces?
From here, as yet, there has not been anything from the armed forces today, but over the last couple of days, they have been coming out in public. They have been saying things against the government, which is the thing which has been causing Correa some concern, because it's been something that harks back to other times in the past that the military has spoken to the press or spoken out against the government.
All right, just final question, Isabel. We know that both opponents and supporters of the government are protesting right now. Can you just confirm whether or not those protests are peaceful?
Oh, absolutely peaceful. It could not be more peaceful. It's like a party. Everyone's happy, everyone's smiling, people wearing costumes. It's a really actually lovely atmosphere, especially when the president came out to wave at everyone.
All right, great touching base with you, Isabel. We will touch base with you another time. Thanks so much. Moving on now, the British-based bank HSBC is being sued by relatives of U.S. citizens who were killed by Mexican drug cartels. In 2012, HSBC paid almost $2 billion in fines after it was accused of laundering drug money. The new lawsuit argues that the bank should be held to account under the U.S. Anti-Terrorism Act because it knowingly contributed to the brutal acts of drug gangs. The Pope arrives in Mexico this Friday. The cost of the visit is about $20 million, as Clayton Kahn reports from Mexico City.
The highly anticipated state visit of Pope Francis to Mexico is calculated to exceed $20 million for the entire trip of the leader of the Catholic Church. Now, the 5-day official visit of the pontiff is to go from Mexico City to the southern rural impoverished state of Chiapas and then to the violence-stricken state of Michoacan and finish at the northern border city of Ciudad Juarez in the state of Chihuahua. Now, the price tag for Juarez has been made public, and estimated 20 million pesos or $1.1 million for the 9-hour and 15-minute visit, breaking down to nearly $2,000 per minute. However, in the state of Michoacan, where Pope Francis is expected to visit for only 7 hours, nearly 300 million pesos have been slated for preparations and the reception, with another 20 million directed to revitalizing the areas where the Pope will transit. Now, this number far exceeds that of Juarez to $16 million or $38,000 per minute. This is Clayton Kahn reporting for teleSUR here in Mexico City.
The Argentinian government, led by Mauricio Macri, says it's almost ready to reach a deal with the so-called vulture funds. The Argentine Foreign Minister, Susana Marcoro, said during a visit to New York that the government is close to reaching an agreement with a group of hedge funds that are suing Argentina. She said that the agreement will be announced within the coming days. Haiti faces its third consecutive year of drought, exacerbated by the weather phenomenon El Niño. Severe food insecurity has doubled in 6 months, aggravating the current political crisis. St. Lucia and Eastern Islands in the Caribbean are redefining their development strategy for the coming years. With more on this story, our correspondent Alison Kentish reports.
For many years, the tiny countries of the Eastern Caribbean, such as St. Lucia, Grenada, and Dominica, have focused on a development strategy of foreign direct investment. But they are recognizing that this old model of growth has not brought the anticipated results. As global aid has become ever more difficult to find, the 9 countries of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, or OECS, are looking to revamp their policies to better engage the population and spur growth.
A lot has changed and things are changing rapidly, and in fact a lot of the discussion this morning is about the methodology and how do we ensure that the strategy is itself flexible and nimble enough that member states can craft it, adapt it to their particular national circumstances in order to make a crucial difference.
So just what does the strategy entail? At its core are the youth of the Eastern Caribbean. The idea is to focus on youth issues, tackling youth unemployment and the lack of empowerment. The new plan also recognizes that the youth represent the region's most disadvantaged segment of the population. Youth involved in the program, which is based on empowerment, entrepreneurship, and the provision of social services, recently told teleSUR that they are happy to be part of an initiative to chart their future.
I first heard about the OECS youth strategy, and I actually got to know what it was about. I was actually quite impressed because what we've heard a lot about in the past is the authorities have been trying to put together activities for young people, but they're the ones who actually going to do these activities. But what the OECS is trying to do is trying to get the young people involved in the actual decision-making process.
The revised strategy will be available for public feedback. Dr. Jules says the document should be in place by year-end. Alison Kentish, teleSUR, St. Lucia.
The Salvadorian government has found a new way of fighting the Zika virus. Authorities there are using the rare Zambo fish, which feeds on mosquito larvae, to destroy mosquito nets, which are difficult to eliminate through fumigation. Other countries are expected to follow the example. Guatemala's Fuego volcano erupted just 50 kilometers from the capital city. Authorities say the ashes are likely to reach as far as the nearby colonial city of Antigua. The government has not yet issued any warning or ordered evacuations, but they are monitoring the situation as the lava from the volcano could potentially reach villages in the area. The opposition party Libre in Honduras is denouncing a massive corruption scandal involving an NGO on what appears to be bribes handed to at least 8 lawmakers, including Libre members themselves. The party is demanding that the government investigate the case because it believes the NGO may be funded by drug trafficking.
It is possible. It is possible that those funds come from organized crime. Because why would an NGO give $10,000 to a lawmaker? It looks really bad, and I want this to be investigated. Lawmakers are representatives of the people. They should not receive money from NGOs.
Prominent black intellectuals have declared their support for Bernie Sanders after he beat Hillary Clinton in the New Hampshire Democratic Party primaries. Sanders had over 60% of the votes, while Donald Trump won over the Republican polls with just over 35%. Democratic candidate Bernie Sanders called upon his party to unite.
And unite this party and this nation, because the right-wing Republicans we oppose must not be allowed to gain the presidency.
A day after U.S. President Barack Obama presented his last budget to Congress, Federal Reserve Chief Janet Yellen warns that the U.S. economy faces risks from global economic turmoil.
Financial conditions in the United States have recently become less supportive of growth, with declines in broad measures of equity prices, higher borrowing rates for riskier borrowers, and a further appreciation of the dollar.
Junior doctors in England have started their second 24-hour strike against new working conditions and pay rates. These trainee doctors represent half of all doctors in England's National Health Service. The government says it will impose a new contract regardless of the doctors' concerns over safety of the patients. French lawmakers have voted to change the constitution to allow stripping convicted terrorists of their French nationality and enshrine the state of emergency. The National Assembly has passed the amendment with 317 votes in favor and 199 against. Critics fear the government can now use the state of emergency to control protests and other forms of political expression. Hundreds of people on the Greek island of Kos protested against plans to build a refugee facility there. Demonstrators voiced concerns about the facility's possible impact on tourism. Kos leaders have been opposed to the proposal from the start and have argued that the long-term presence of refugees will undermine the island's main source of income. However, several academic studies show that refugees can actually improve the economy. On Tuesday night, over 100 suspects were arrested after a police operation against the Laudani Mafia group in Italy. More than 500 local police officers and agents from other special units participated in the special operation. Another young man has become victim of the Israeli police, while the condition of a jailed Palestinian journalist on hunger strike worsens. Noah Harazin files this report.
The situation continued to escalate in the West Bank today. One Palestinian young boy, he is 16-year-old, was shot dead by the Israeli forces during clashes between Palestinians and Israelis. At the same time, what is busying the top news here in the Palestinian territories are the case of Mohammed Al-Qiq, who was a journalist and an prisoner in the Israeli jails. Mohammed Al-Qiq was arrested something like 3 months ago, and he started a hunger strike because he was held under the policy of administrative detention. Today he enters his 80th day in a hunger strike, and unfortunately the news that we are getting from the Palestinian medical sources that his health is going from bad to worse. He might die in the next few weeks, if not days, and unfortunately there's no intervention from the international communities or international organizations. However, the Palestinian people here, especially the journalists, are continuing their solidarity protests and solidarity with Mohammed Al-Qiq.
Sunderland and England soccer player Adam Johnson has pleaded guilty to engaging in sexual activity with a minor. More specifically, Johnson admitted to kissing a schoolgirl with whom he was communicating via the internet. The soccer star also pleaded guilty to the charge of grooming or soliciting a minor. However, he denies 2 other counts of sexual activity with a child. Johnson is due to go on trial on Friday. The stage play script of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child by author J.K. Rowling is going to be published as a book. The book is based on Potter's adult life and will be available moments after midnight on July 31st. That's also the day after the play opens in London. Thousands of Haitians celebrated Carnival in the streets of Port-au-Prince, forgetting their political problems for the day. Carnival in Haiti goes back to the year 1804, and not even the country's devastating 2010 earthquake was enough to put a dent in the celebrations. For more on these and other stories, please visit our website, telesurtv.net/English. You can also join us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. For more on us here at TeleSUR, my name is Reagan. Have a great evening. Bye.